Hello friends, my name is Mustafa, and in this lesson we'll take a look at a beginner fingerstyle arrangement of Are You Lonesome Tonight? This is more of a grade 3 piece, so it is not made for absolute beginners. But if you played 5 to 10 fingerstyle arrangements before and want a piece to take you to the next level, then you'll feel right at home with this tutorial. With that in mind, the challenging part of this piece are the left-hand chord shapes and how to connect them in legato as we play melody and accompaniment layers. There are no real tricks for the right hand besides the usual proper posture and alternating right hand fingers whenever is necessary. After 2 to 4 weeks, you should be able to play the song if you're at the proper level. Let's get started. So the piece starts with a 4-bar intro, and we start with an open string chord, the C6. That's strings 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to play them with my thumb, index, and middle as a block. Then I'm going to play the G note, or the 3rd fret, with my 4th finger, and then the open A. Then I'm going to play the A7 chord. My 4th finger is already there, I just have to put my 2nd and 1st finger. Again, I'm going to play my thumb, index, and middle as a block. Then I'm going to let go of my 4th finger and 1st finger, but I'm going to keep my 2nd finger to maintain the bass line. D minor chord. Now here's a G7 chord, but avoid playing it with your intuition the way you've learned it from a chord chart, which is to play it like this. What you want to do is you want to be absolutely legato when you go from the D minor to the G7 chord. So if you notice in the D minor chord, you already have the 2nd fret and the 1st fret pressed, part of the G7. So all you have to do really is put your 4th finger at the 2nd fret on the 1st string and let go of your bass note to get the G7 chord. So that becomes D minor, and then you're going to strum that G7 chord. So the intro becomes, and then a strum. And then the pickup leads to the beginning of the verse. So that's open, E string, and then G with our 3rd finger. And even though I'm a fan of always playing the 3rd fret with our 4th finger, we need to play this 3rd fret with our 3rd finger because the chord that comes after is the C chord with a high C with our 4th finger. So we cannot use our 4th finger on the 2nd string. 2nd finger, then thumb on that bass note. Notice how I'm maintaining the B note, or the 2nd fret, all the way across when I play those open notes. And then I have it already. 1st finger. Same thing, you're going to maintain the open strings. Don't cut the open strings. 3rd finger, so that your 1st finger can maintain the bass. Open C6. Same as the intro. Here, when you play the 1st fret, make sure you maintain it all the way to the open E. Now you can let go of it. So don't let go of it under the A in the bass. Let go of it when you need to play the E. So it's the D note, or the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, that resolves that entire phrase. So that becomes... You have to make sure you hear that D as the ending, because the last two notes of bar 12 are actually a pickup to the next phrase, sort of like the pickup to the verse that you saw at the end of bar 4. So think of the 1 and the 0, or the F and the A, as the beginning of the new phrase and not the ending of your current phrase. So where does your current phrase end? It ends on that D. Now starts the pickup to the next phrase. And then you have this chord. This is basically a G7, but we're using our fourth finger for that third fret. Now you already have all the notes pressed. You just have to move your fourth finger to that third fret. Back to the G7. You already have all the fingers. Notice how I'm not making a fuzz out of my left hand and letting go of any notes unnecessarily. It was always controlled. G9. Now, while you're holding the second fret on the first fret, you're going to play open. You can now let go of the second fret and play the G7. Using my fourth finger on that third fret, G7 again. In bar 20, that's exactly the same as bar 12. The phrase ends on the open C. And then the G with the A, or the 3 and the 0, are the pickup to the next bar. C7. And because the C7 has that tense B flat note, it's okay to strum it and really emphasize that to get that tension. Resolve it. Third finger so that your fourth finger can play the high C. Fourth finger. And now comes a difficult F major chord with an added G. So here's a good spot to practice rubato and roll the chord to fake that you're being musical, but actually you're just gaining a little bit of valuable, milliseconds to be able to plant the chord. And a great tool to help you fake that is to add a vibrato on that G note. F major. Now you're going to use the second fret with your second finger, and you're going to move it up a fret to the third fret. And while you do that, look how my first finger is free to do whatever I want it to do. I'm just going set up the bar. Open to let go of everything. Reset up the bar, but now across all 4 strings. And you can strum that if you want. Now comes difficult chord. You have to keep the fourth finger on as you let go of the bar, and make sure you don't make a fuzz out of it by making noise. Now that's opened as beautiful high contrast from the high D to that A. So make sure you get that a contrast in melody note. Now it's very important, first finger on the second fret, second finger on the third fret, and you already have the shape that you need for this chord, which is the F sharp, and then it moves to the G. Notice how it's the same chord, and you set it up at the beginning of bar 27. In the recording, what I did to make it a little bit cleaner is I added some sort of a short staccato at the end of the chord, just to make it pop up. Back to the beginning. Now it changes, second finger, third finger, set up that bar as you move up to the 7th fret. So you set up the bar as you position shift. Now you can strum that chord or linger on it because it's difficult. You already have these notes. Now in bar 32, I recommend you play it as a block so you have that beat ready. So that's 1, 2, 3, and depending on your tempo, right? So that's going to become... And then we're going to play the G7 chord. And then resolve it in the C chord. And then you do the repeat. One thing I like to do here, because there's so much space for it, is play the G7, C, D, and then do a trill, just to make it sound nice. On the repeat, that's the same thing. Use the open strings to move. and that will give you the harmonics, and then quietly stop your ukulele. Alright, I hope you've learned a few tricks in this tutorial. As usual, the point of these lessons is not to learn the song per se, but to acquire transferable skills that you can apply to any piece you're learning. My name is Mustafa, and have a wonderful time learning this song.